As a cook, I should have trusted my instincts. Hey everybody! We are back in this kitchen again and we're going to make another Beautiful 2 creation. But today we're doing something a little different. We're using this Instant Pot again. You guys, we love macaroni and cheese. But today we're going to make an Instant Pot creamy Italian mac and cheese. Okay, so this should be fun. Let me share with you the ingredients that we're going to need to make this wonderful dish. The ingredients that we're going to use will be 2 teaspoons of olive oil, 1 pound of Italian sausage, 1 small yellow onion that's diced, 3 cloves of garlic minced, 1 teaspoon of dried oregano, a teaspoon of dried basil, 1/4 teaspoon of red pepper flakes. You're going to salt and pepper this to taste. An 8-ounce jar of sun-dried tomatoes that are chopped. 2 cups of chicken broth. 2 cups of water. 1 pound of medium shell pasta. 1/4 cup of heavy cream. 2 cups of fresh spinach. 2 cups of shredded provolone. And 1 cup of shredded Parmesan. And you guys, don't be afraid to make modifications to your recipes. You know what your palate likes. You know, if you do not like onions, don't add onions. If you don't care for garlic, don't add garlic. But then too, by the same token, if you like those flavors, you can always add more, okay? So just take recipes and make them your own. Of course, I made some modifications. First of all, I did not need as much, so I've cut this recipe in half. But I will put the exact recipe down in the description box. First of which, my broth. You guys, I love this better than bouillon. This is so wonderful. It's so delicious. So what I did was, I just measured out my water and I added the better than bouillon. And I added enough to where I could taste it. I put the water and the broth together because we're going to add it at the same time. So I didn't need a separate measuring cup for my water and a separate measuring cup for my broth. So that's why those 2 items are mixed together. Also, let's see, what else did I do? I cheated with my minced garlic. I didn't feel like chopping up and dicing the garlic, so I have some of this minced garlic that's already done, and that's what's in here. I did not do the sun-dried tomatoes. I wanted some fresh tomatoes, so I took some of the little grape tomatoes and I chopped them up, and that's what's here. As it pertains to my spinach, I have to kind of fool my dudes a little bit, so I've already rinsed my spinach and I chopped that up so they wouldn't see the whole baby leaf spinach, okay? And finally, this recipe calls for dried basil. I did not have any dried basil. I have some fresh sweet basil in my little herb garden, so I went and cut some of that off. I brought it in, you guys, and rinsed it off. I put it on this foil and put this foil in the oven, put it on broil, and once I put it on the foil, I just covered it up so it wouldn't burn, and bam, I've got some dried basil. Now you guys, if you are real chefs, don't come for me. I don't even know if I did that right. But what I do know is it's dry now, okay? So again, don't be afraid to modify. I'm not a chef, I'm not a professional cook, but what I am is a good cook who learned from my mom, who was a great cook. So again, just trial and error. And sometimes you just have to improvise in the kitchen. You may not have what the exact recipe calls for. You may not have that item. Learn how to improvise. And once you improvise and you try different things, you will learn what works and you will learn what does not work. So if for some reason you do something and you don't like it, you know, honey, don't do that again. And do trust. If you have a family, they will tell you, girl, don't do that. That was nasty. Don't do that. Okay? So take the recipes and make them your own. If you are an experienced or inexperienced cook, follow the recipe for the first time. And then once you do that, if you know you want to taste a little more garlic, or you want to taste a little more pepper, or you need more cheese, then you make the modification after you've made the recipe the first time, and then kind of know what you need to add, okay? Alright, so we're going to start by, I have this ready to cook. This is a sweet Italian sausage, you guys. It does not call for this kind of sausage, but this is what we're going to use because this is what I have and this is what I want to use, okay? So we're going to cut this up, and we're going to start by sauteing the onions and the sweet Italian sausage. And of course, I have thoroughly washed my hands. Why? Because we don't be in the kitchen with nasty hands, y'all. That's just nasty. I'm going to open up this sweet Italian sausage. And you guys, this is a pound. I won't use all of this in this recipe, but I will go on and cook it all so we can just eat it. Now I'm going to turn on the saute function of the Instant Pot, and then I'm going to add my 2 teaspoons of oil. And while that's heating up, we're going to get the sausage cut up. Let's see, I may do better. Let's see if it does better if I cut it. Yeah. And I don't want big chunks of sausage, so I think I'll just kind of cut it like this on an angle. You guys, I decided after I cut this up, it was quite a bit of sausage, so I'm not going to use all of it, okay? I'll save the rest for a later time. So now that our notification says hot, we are going to add our onions and our sausage. Going to let this saute for a while. And in the meantime, I'm going to take this where I had this raw meat and wash my hands and wash this off. This is supposed to cook about 5 or 6 minutes. Now this is an example of me doing something that the recipe did not tell me to do, but I'm wanting to make sure that this sausage gets totally cooked before I go to the next step. But in the process of that happening, as it's cooking and some of the moisture is cooking out, it's causing, you know, some of the seasonings to get stuck on the bottom of the pot. And one thing about an Instant Pot is you will get a burn notification on the front if anything is stuck to the bottom of this pot once you put the lid on to start pressurizing and cooking whatever you're cooking. So I've added just a little water. Again, the recipe did not tell me to do this, but okay, I had pretty much added most of it. But anywho, to get that off the bottom of the pot before I start adding the other seasonings. Okay, now I'm going to turn off my pot, and then I'm going to add all of my seasonings. And I went on and put my oregano and all of my dried seasonings in here with the garlic, because I'm going to add it all at one time. So I just dump them all in there together. And then I have to stir this for about a minute. So then I mix that garlic, the oregano, the basil, my red pepper flakes in together. And now I'm going to add a little bit of pepper to taste. I'm adding just a little bit of salt. And continue to stir. I wanted to mix all of those dry ingredients, my seasonings together, because you guys, I wash dishes as I cook. And of course in the beginning I have everything separated so you all can see it, but again I wash dishes as I cook, so that's why I wanted to just dump everything in there together before I dumped it in the pot. Okay, next I really need to be adding those sun-dried tomatoes, but because I'm using the fresh tomatoes, I'm not going to add them just yet. So now I'm going to add my broth. This is actually the broth and the water mix. And I'm going to add my pasta. Let me get all of that off of, all those good old seasonings off my spoon. I think I'll be okay just waiting to add the tomatoes at the end when I do the spinach, okay? So now we're getting ready to place the lid on, and remember we want this valve set back to where it says sealing. Now that the lid is on and the valve is set to sealing, we're going to do the pressure cook for 4 minutes. And then once this cooks for 4 minutes, we're going to do a quick release, and then we'll add the rest of the ingredients. Okay, I wanted to show you guys that the 4-minute indicator has just now lit up. So it actually took 5 minutes for the Instant Pot to pressurize. Okay, so now that it just shows on, and then once it reaches the correct pressure, then that's when the timer will start. So again, that has taken 5 minutes. So I just wanted to share that before the cooking process actually begins, it takes a while for the pressure cooker to build pressure, or the Instant Pot to build pressure. Alright, now that the timer has gone off to let me know that the 4 minutes is up, it says to do a quick release. And when you do a quick release, what you do is you flip this valve back here. I want you guys to see, so let me see if I can turn it a little bit. Okay. You want to flip this valve, and then the steam and the pressure will release. Now once it's released, this little red button will go down to let you know that it's safe to open it, okay? But you want to be very careful when you flip that because steam is going to come out and you will get burnt, so just be careful when you flip it. So I'm going to open this to venting. And then that releases the steam. And again, once it's safe to open the lid, you'll see this little red pen fall down. You heard it and you saw the little red pen fall down. So now we're good to open it. Ouch. Guys have to be careful because it will certainly burn you, and I'm really trying to see. I was real skeptical about just those 4 minutes. I'm trying to make sure this pasta is done enough. You guys, I was real skeptical about that 4-minute cook time. That pasta is not done enough. So I'm gonna add another 5 minutes to that pasta because it wasn't done enough for me. So now we have to pressurize again, which is gonna take about 5 minutes, and then we'll let it cook for another 5 minutes. So we'll check back once it cooks another 5 minutes to make sure that we have enough time, okay? I just wanted to share that with you guys because just in case you try this recipe, 4 minutes for this pasta is not enough. As a cook, I should have trusted my instincts because I did not feel like 4 minutes was going to be enough time to cook some pasta, even if it was in an instant pot. Okay, the red pen just failed, so let's try this again. Okay, now we're just going to add the cream, the heavy whipping cream, and the spinach. And we're going to stir this around because we just want the spinach to get wilted. And I'm actually going to go on and add these tomatoes now too. It looks pretty. And now, although I turned off the Instant Pot after it depressurized, I've just turned it back on to saute because I want it to stay a little warm because I also have to get this cheese melted. So I'll turn it back off in just a second. Now that I see it's kind of bubbling, I'm going to go and turn it back off. Okay, and now we're going to start adding the cheese a little bit at a time. You don't want to just dump it all in there because you don't want it to get clumpy. So we're going to start with the provolone cheese. I'm going to add about half of that. I believe it's going to taste good despite our challenges with the undercooked pasta. Okay, now we're going to add about half of the Parmesan and get that mixed in. And just by the looks of it, you guys, I think I want to add me a little bit more cream. Okay. Turn that saute button back on just for a minute as we add the remaining Parmesan. It's definitely cheesy. Now I want to add it to my casserole dish. It looks good. Get all of my yummy goodness out of the bottom of this here pot. Well, you guys, what can I say? The Instant Pot wasn't so instant today. What would I do differently? First of all, I certainly should have followed my real cook instincts with this recipe, but I didn't, and it's all good. So what I would do differently is not fix it in the Instant Pot. And my first instinct was to do this on the stove. That's what I should have did. My second instinct was when that recipe said cook the pasta for 4 minutes. That just didn't feel right down in my soul. And I just should have followed my real cook instincts. Anywho, we rectified it, so definitely have to cook the pasta longer. If I were to do this on the stove, I would boil the noodles in the chicken stock, and I would saute my onions and my Italian sausage like I did. Once I got through with that, with the cream and the spinach, I would add that to my noodles in the pot and just add everything like I did. So once I got through with the onions and the meat, I would have added all of my seasonings that I added to the pot. You know, the garlic, the basil, the oregano. I would have added that with the seasonings, with the meat and the onions. And then once I added the pasta to that, I would have added the cream and then the spinach and then the cheese last, just like I did. So that Instant Pot was too much work for this recipe. That's just my opinion. Okay, so let's see. Let's see. It looks good. Looks good. It's definitely an Italian dish. It has that Italian flair. Oh, that's good. I had to work too hard for it, but it's good. Honey. So, that's good. Okay. Alright. Well, so my recommendation is to do this in a regular pot, okay? Yeah. But it's good. It really is. Very tasty, okay? So, thank you guys so much for watching. I already look forward to you joining me again next time.